Welcome back to Briefing with the Chief. I'm your host, Patrick Jordan, and we are going to go over a case that has occurred in California where a pro Hamas university professor struck and killed a Jewish protester. So, two protesters, one was supporting Hamas, the other one was supporting Israel, got in a tussle, and one of them was killed. And that person was recently sentenced. And we're going to go over that case and we're going to go over the really light sentence, which I think is shocking. So stick around for the whole story. But I just want to remind you, you can find me at Briefing with the Chief on YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, and TikTok. So that's the handle, at Briefing with the Chief. And actually, you can find me at LASD Jordan. Now, this case occurred in 2023, and it occurred in the city of Thousand Oaks, the Westlake Village area of Thousand Oaks Boulevard, high end upscale area, in which there was a protest that was occurring in support of Hamas by some local Muslim groups. In fact, the professor, which we'll get into his name in a minute, was a professor at Moorpark College, but he was the student advisor for the Muslim Student Association. And across the street was a counter protest, a much smaller counter protest of Jewish protesters that supported Israel. And a confrontation occurred, and one of the persons ended up dead. Let's go with the video regarding the murder of Paul Kessler. This was a Jewish man who died on that day.
Tonight we spoke with the victim's friend who was also at the protest. He is urging the Ventura District Attorney to consider new charges.
I feel it was premeditated. I feel it was targeted.
John Oswax is not satisfied with the charges filed against this man in the death of his friend, Paul Kessler.
So I view it as a hate crime, and that's what I would like to see the district attorney ultimately come to the same conclusion.
It was on November 5th when dueling protests in Thousand Oaks resulted in an altercation between Kesler, who is Jewish, and a pro-Palestinian demonstrator, now identified as Moorpark College professor Loay Alnaji.
I saw the man hit him. Alnaji was holding the bullhorn in his right hand, and he swung the bullhorn.
Investigators allege Alnaji caused Kesler to fall and hit his head on the concrete. Kesler later died at a hospital. Alnaji has been charged with involuntary manslaughter and battery causing great bodily injury.
I would like to personally speak with the district attorney so he could hear from me, one of the hunted Jews, exactly what this feels like and how this is not going to happen in Thousand Oaks.
And tomorrow morning at 10:30, the Ventura District Attorney, as well as the Ventura Sheriff's Department, will be holding a news conference to discuss the case against Alnaji. Reporting from Thousand Oaks, I'm Gina Silva. I'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
So obviously this occurred in Ventura County, California. And here's the thing. If you saw the video, and I would encourage you folks, if you're just listening, to watch the video. I see the professor, Loay Alnaji, and he's just got a little smirk on his face. I looked at this video and I thought, man, this guy is looking at the guy that he not hit with the megaphone, because that's what happened, getting tended to, and he's got a little bit of a smirk on his face. For me, I had a real problem with that. Maybe that's just his normal way. I don't know, but it sure didn't look like he was concerned at all. Now, I will give him credit for sticking around to talk to the police. But let's get into the story here. So I have an article. We got the headline. Let's get the headline from Red State article. Here's the Red State article. Pro-Hamas professor Loay Alnaji heading to trial, charged with manslaughter in the death of Paul Kessler. Now, here's the thing. Paul Kessler was 9 years old. Alnaji is 50. So the guy's 19 years older than you. I'm sorry, 19 years older than you. And I saw a picture of Paul. He's not a big man, and Alnaji is a decent-sized guy. He's a pretty thick guy. So he's bigger and stronger and younger, much younger, almost 20 years younger than the victim in this case, right? And so let's get into this. So a California Supreme Court judge ruled Wednesday that there is enough evidence for Moorpark Community College professor, pro-Hamas agitator Loay Alnaji to go on trial for charges for manslaughter in the death of Paul Kessler, a Jewish man who was involved in a counter-protest on November 5th, 2023. Alnaji was involved in a confrontation with Kessler on the Sunday afternoon when he allegedly hit Kesler in the face with a bullhorn, causing Kesler to fall and fracture his skull. Kesler died approximately 7 hours after the altercation. Alnaji, who is a professor at both Moorpark College and Cal State Northridge University, was arrested about a week later and charged with involuntary manslaughter related to Kessler's death. Now I'm going to go through the medical examiners. So we want to make sure, because here's the thing. They're arguing that he fell down and hit his head, but I want you to hear what the medical examiner has to say, because I have a real problem. You're going to be outraged at the sentence at the end of this. I was outraged. The medical examiner for Ventura County conducted Kessler's autopsy and testified as to his findings, that he found exterior injuries to the left side of Kessler's face, along with a tear inside Kessler's mouth and damage to Kessler's tongue, where he had clenched his teeth. Both were after being hit with the bullhorn. After examining the bullhorn and the grooved pattern of the rubber lip at the bottom of it, he concluded that the scrapes and lacerations on Kessler's left chin, left upper lip, and the outer corner of his eyes were caused by the bullhorn striking Kesler, and the black eye noticeable on the autopsy was either caused by the bullhorn or caused by Kessler's subsequent fall. The medical examiner also testified that there was a 2-inch curvular tear in the back of Kessler's head and a skull fracture that was caused by the assault or the fall. Now, here's the deal. If you hit somebody with a bullhorn or any other object and they fall down and they hit their head, you are responsible for those injuries, right? You are the person who hit them. Now, there's some suggestion that he fell after he was hit, but shortly after he's hit, but that's not unusual. That happens in fights, right? You get hit, you get a little dizzy, and then you fall down, right? So Alnaji, the advisor for the Muslim Student Association at Moorpark College, is part of this protest. In fact, he's a leader of one of the protests, and he decides to confront a Jewish protester. He doesn't like what he's saying, because this is all what comes out. Doesn't like what's being said, and then hits him in the side of the head with a bullhorn. The guy falls down and he dies. That's essentially the case. And they have multiple videos to this happening. And so I want to read, this is from the district attorney's office up in Ventura County. The Ventura County district attorney announces that Alnaji of Moorpark pled guilty. So he pled guilty. He was going to trial in the video clip, and now he's pled guilty today on all counts and allegations related to the death of Paul Kessler. Alnaji pled guilty to felony involuntary manslaughter, felony battery causing serious bodily injury. There's only one reason why you plead to all the charges, is because the evidence is damning. They got you. They got you on video, right? He admitted the special allegation that he personally inflicted great bodily injury. It's his fault. He admits it. Alnaji also admitted aggravating factors that he used a weapon, the bullhorn, and that the victim was particularly vulnerable. Now, this is an interesting thing. As I was reading this case, why didn't they go after him for elder abuse? So it looks like they have some statutes in the county of Ventura that allow for enhancements based upon somebody being particularly vulnerable. You should look at that. An old guy yelling at you, you don't hit him with a bullhorn, right? Alnaji engaged in a physical confrontation with the victim, Paul Kessler, on November 5th, 2023, while both were protesting on the corner of Thousand Oaks Boulevard and Westlake Boulevard in Thousand Oaks. Alnaji struck Kessler in the head with a megaphone, causing Kessler to fall to the ground and hit his head on the pavement. Kessler was subsequently died from his injuries sustained during the incident. Alnaji should be sentenced to prison for his violent behavior, and our office, this is the DA's office, strongly objects to any lesser sentence. Well, no amount of punishment will ever fully account for Kessler's family loss. A prison commitment underscores the severity of the crime and will deter others from committing similar acts of violence. The court indicated that it is likely to place Alnaji on formal probation and up to 365 days in the local county jail. That's the maximum sentence, right? He could have faced up to 4 years in prison. The sentencing hearing was scheduled for June 25th. Now, it just happened. I just want to go over the charges real quick. So it's involuntary manslaughter, battery to cause serious injury, personal infliction of great bodily harm. Defendant was armed and used a weapon, and the victim was particularly vulnerable. Those are the. So anyway, so the judge sentenced him to 365 days in the county jail, which means, and you know what? Let's roll with the video for the sentencing, because I'll let this attorney tell you what it means. Let's roll with that video.
These guys have no respect. Fight like a man. This wouldn't happen anywhere else. Old man's carrying my Israeli flag right here. I'm over here. And go back to him so he can smash you out. See the blood right there? See the blood right there? Being taken away on an ambulance. You're being knocked unconscious.
This case is coming up Tuesday.
I think the court has made up their mind, his mind on this matter, that he's going to give him probation, which means that he could receive anywhere from 0 days in jail to 1 year. And because you in the county jail get half time, the maximum sentence is 6 months that he could serve. You know, he could serve 1 day, no days, but the maximum he could serve with credits is 6 months. The concern that I have, and many members of the Jewish community, is that considering the nature of this crime, the fact that a weapon was used, the fact that Mr. Kesler was very vulnerable due to his age and other factors, that the sentence does not send the proper deterrent to the community. In other words, you've taken a life. And one of the reasons that life was taken because he was Jewish. So what we're concerned is, what is that value of that life? It's not worth 6 months. For God's sakes, it's worth 2 to 4 years in state prison, minimum. So I know, I can't speak for the entire community, but just from the people that I've met and talked to, they're deeply troubled that this is not a sufficient deterrent due to the nature of this crime.
Do you think that
that's right. That's good enough, Amanda. Absolutely.
Or the case?
Got to agree with the attorney there, and somebody who's had cases before this judge. 365 days in jail with good time. That means you're going to be out in 6 months or even less for causing the death by striking somebody with a weapon. So, to me, this is outrage, and I think the Jewish community has a right to be absolutely outraged. And I don't believe that there were mitigating factors that the defense tried to play. And I have no idea what the judge is thinking. We clearly heard from the DA. The DA says this is a prison sentence. This is a case that demands a prison sentence. We heard from the community that they expected it. I have no idea what the judge is thinking, but I can certainly understand why people would be upset with this. I'm not happy with it, and you shouldn't be happy with it either. So that is my show for today. My producer says she's outraged. Yeah, well, you should be outraged too. But that's my show for today. Remember, you can catch me at Briefing with the Chief on TikTok, Rumble, Facebook, YouTube, and of course, I want you to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And catch me next time on Briefing with the Chief.